Hey everybody, this is Gordon Cobb here. We're going to work on creating a simple score in Sibelius today. We're going to do this in a few parts, and I'm going to approach this from the point of view of the student who doesn't read music and has never made a music score before, so we're going to keep it really simple. Now, the piece that you're going to recreate is quite a famous piece by J.S. Bach called Minuet in G major. It was created in the 1700s, and it's kind of a classic piece. The reason I'm choosing this in this particular genre is mostly because it's a copyright free piece of music, and so I can make copies of it and give it to you, and there aren't any copyright issues. So this is what it looks like here, Minuet in G major. I'm going to play it for you so you can hear it. So there it is, Minuet in G major. And I've simplified it just a little bit. This isn't exactly how the original transcription goes, but for the purposes of this class, I just made it a little simpler. So essentially, we're going to be using Sibelius, and it takes maybe a couple days to get your head wrapped around, but it's not that bad. And I'm gonna probably do a number of small videos so that you can kind of step by step go through the process. But the first thing we need to do is create a new score. So we go File, New. It gives us all of these different options. If you're looking for templates, there's all these templates with these super funky images. But we're just going to go for a new score. It'll usually kind of default you to the top of the page. And a lot of times, if you're creating a composition, you'll go for a blank page. But because we're doing a piano piece today, we're going to scroll down to the bottom and we're going to choose piano. So I'm going to double click. And the first thing I always do, I'm going to save it. Save as Minuet in G, Gordon Cobb. Where am I going to save it? On my desktop so I can find it. Bam! So now, if for some reason, there's a power outage or whatever, you're not going to lose your progress. At least you have this saved. So that's the first step. Create a new score. So there's a number of ways that you can input the notes into Sibelius. I'm going to focus on the easiest way, which is just to use the mouse to add the notes in. You can also use the keypad. This is, let me close this here. We'll close that. This is a representation of the keypad you'll find on a keyboard, a computer keyboard. Unfortunately, I'm using a laptop, so there is no keypad here, but some of the learning videos that Sibelius has on the website goes through how to use the keypad, and this is actually a way better way to do it. But for today, we're just going to use the mouse. So, if we want to start adding some notes, we want to press the letter N, which is the first letter of the word notes. And you'll notice that now I've got a funky blue arrow, and you can see Sibelius now wants to put a note on the page. But before we do, we have to look over here at this digital keypad and decide what kind of note we want to put in. So let's talk a little bit about music notes. This is the quarter note. It gets one beat. The half note gets two. The whole note gets four. The eighth note gets a half. The 16th note gets a quarter of a beat, etc., etc. This up here is a staccato. Don't get that confused with a dot. If you want to make a dotted half note, you select the half note and add the dot, and it will turn it into a dotted half note. You can see there it is there. But our first note that we want is actually a quarter note. So I'm going to select quarter note. I can see that we want a G because I've given you all a handout. So there it is. You don't even have to be able to read music to know that that's the first note. And in fact, I'm totally wrong. The first note that we want is not this note, it's a D. So we're going to fix it. First, you're just going to use your up and down arrows on your keyboard, and there it is. You just move until you get to a D. Now we want some eighth notes. So I'm going to select eighth note, and we want this note here, a G, and then an A, and then a B. We'll fix that in a minute. That's supposed to be a C, so let's just press up. And now we want a quarter note. So any of you who are musicians out there, you're going to realize that this piece actually isn't supposed to have 4 beats in each bar. It's only supposed to have 3. So this is a little bit off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press escape and press it twice, and now it's no longer in note mode. We got to go in and change the time signature, because by default, Sibelius will always create a piece in 4/4 time, which means we have 4 beats in each bar. So we go to time signature. We're going to select 3/4 time, and see how our arrow is blue? I'm just going to put it right there. I'm just going to select right at the beginning, because that's where our time signature goes. And now you can see we're in 3/4 time, and it's fixed all the bars. So now we have a correct piece of music here. We have 3 beats and 3 beats, and this is how the piece was originally written. So we're going to carry on. We're going to add some more notes. Bar 3, we have a quarter note on E, and then we have some eighth notes starting on C, D, E, F, and then G, and another G. All right, now you will notice I'm going to unselect the notes here, so I press escape. This note here is actually supposed to be a sharp. You can see on your printout of this piece that we're supposed to have a sharp here. Well, how do we make it into a sharp? You just go back over to your keypad and you just select sharp. And on that note, it will now add it. You can turn it off if you want. And that's the great thing about the keypad. It kind of works as kind of a selection device for any of the notes. So using the arrow keys, I can scroll through all of my notes, and I can do whatever I want to them using the keypad. I made this into a flat. No, I changed my mind. I'm going to put that back. Okay, so now we have the first 1, 2, 3, 4 bars of this song. Let's play it and see how it sounds. So up at the top here, we select play. And now there's a play button right here. We're just going to go bam. Yes, we love that. All right, I'm going to press stop. It automatically goes back to page view here. And so now what you would do is you would go back and you would start adding all of the notes into your score. So let's add in the first notes in our left hand. That's the bass clef here. And the first note is a half note. And you'll notice on your score that it's actually a chord. A chord is two or more notes that are played together at the same time. And the bottom of the chord is this note here, G. It's in the top space. And I need to add more notes on top. And you can see while I'm still on this note, it will allow me to add more notes. So I'm going to add this next space here, which is B. And then I'm going to add one more on this right above the ledger line on D. And now we have a chord. And I'm going to just unselect by pressing Escape twice. And now you can see this is how you would just go ahead and fill in all the rest of your notes.